Well, India has emerged as the global leader in fast payments driven by the Unified Payments Interface, according to a report by the IMF titled Growing Retail Digital Payments, the Value of Interoperability. Now, this report highlights the UPI's role in reducing cash usage as well as declining debit credit card transactions since its 2016 launch. The IMF, in its fintech note, had pointed out that India now makes the fastest payments of any country, and the credit of this goes entirely to the UPI. The UPI, which was developed by the NPCI, processes over 18 billion transactions monthly, making it the world's largest retail fast payment system. The IMF notes that interoperability boosts digital payment adoption, with ATM withdrawal data showing a shift from cash to interoperable districts. The report recommends monitoring dominant players to ensure market competition and fostering inclusive dialogue with private sector participants. In June 2025, UPI recorded 18.4 billion transactions, and they were worth a whopping 24.04 trillion rupees. This, in fact, is a slight monthly decline, but significantly, it's showing yearly growth, reinforcing India's digital payment dominance. We're happy to have with us Dr. Charan Singh, eminent economist, who's a well-known banking expert. Thank you, sir, for being with us. When you were involved with the banking sector more closely, obviously there was a lot of computerization and things taking place. But now, I mean, look at the kind of infrastructure. What kind of infrastructure is required to handle this kind of volume of digital transactions, 18 billion transactions monthly?
This is amazing. Amazing figures that you have just been saying. And the IMF has come out with that study, and we in our own country, especially in the RBI Bulletin annual report, we have been talking about the UPI and the payment mechanism that has been adopted under the digital infrastructure. Just imagine in June 2016, when we started, only 21 banks, financial institutions were involved. We have more than 620 now. As you mentioned, the transactions, 18 billion transactions in June 25. And if you look at June 16, when we started, they were 0.1, that's all, 0.1 billion. And if you look at the amount that is involved, as you mentioned, 24 lakh crores, and at that time it was 0.38 crores, that's all.
Indeed.
Now, given this situation, the multiple times all this has happened is amazing. The credit goes, of course, to the technology, and I would say the starting point goes to the Jan Dhan Yojana. When you have so many accounts available to you and they get connected through the mobile network, so technology and the accounts come together, and then know your customer through the Aadhaar card system, the JAM Trinity played a very important role. Now data is available, accounts are available, and therefore the cost of transaction or cost of data immediately comes down. This changed the whole scenario. I must share this with you, Mark. When the studies on financial inclusion were done in the Reserve Bank of India in 2007, 8 and 9, I was there. We were surprised to see that in rest of the world also there is financial inclusion problem, not only in India. And therefore now I think with the IMF acknowledging the technology that we have, the way we have handled people on the street using UPI through the QR code and the sound system which says how much has been transacted, which builds trust in everybody's mind, the user and the person who's paying.
Yes.
This will revolutionize the financial inclusion in the rest of the world too.
Absolutely.
As you must have noticed,
Indeed.
many countries already have UPI, and I think this is going to happen now in a bigger way, even in advanced countries, because even in UK, USA, when we were doing the studies at that time, suffered from financial exclusion. And
Okay.
what we have done through UPI, we have brought the whole set of people, that segment, which was even scared of keeping cash in their pocket because in the
Right.
night they would be robbed. Though that segment has been brought into the formal banking system, I think it's amazing.
So you've talked, Professor Charan Singh, about financial inclusion, really for the common man. But you know, not everyone has a smartphone, a 5G, high quality phones. So how scalable is UPI, for the common man, really?
No, I give you an illustration that this financial inclusion really made a very big difference because the number of accounts came in. But you could do the UPI transaction through any technology. You will be also surprised. You mentioned that I was associated with the banking industry for a long time, first in the Reserve Bank and then, of course, with a commercial bank. We were all emphasizing ATMs. And now the number of transactions or visits to the ATMs have come down dramatically from 16 to 8. So that means people are able to use any mode for payment, just not the smartphone. Also, if you look at the other side, the cash transactions, the study which you are referring to, the IMF study, comes out with very good statistics. Cash per capita. Now, in 2019, the volume of transactions which people used to do in cash per capita was 7. And now what they're doing is just 4. So that means that the dominance of cash in terms of volume of transactions, even otherwise, the dominance of cash is coming down. So to my mind, the technology interface has really helped commerce to grow, has also helped in formalization of the economy because we
Right.
were always worried about the informal segment of the economy not getting captured. It has helped in formalization of the economy, and this is happening through various mechanisms.
Indeed. Professor Charan Singh, so you did mention about how the people are using the ATMs less, but they are also necessarily using debit and credit cards less because of the convenience of the smartphone. So what's the next, for the UPI on a global scale? You also alluded to this in your first answer.
Yes, of course. On the global scale, I think the digital diplomacy is going to expand. And India's UPI is going to become the buzzword in even advanced countries, not just the Latin American or African countries. Of course, Prime Minister did that agreement in Trinidad and Tobago. That's of course, and many other African countries, Latin American countries would love to have something like this because financial exclusion happens in those countries also. But even in advanced countries like America, UK, where I mentioned Australia, there are people who are excluded from the formal financial markets. So, to my mind, the UPI will be a great selling point in all these countries. So, in a way, it gives us an edge on technology. But I must also share this with you. And this is very important. This didn't happen overnight. And this didn't happen just by accident. The Reserve Bank, and of course the blessing of the government, because the public sector banks played a very important role in adopting technology in a very big way. It started from the handheld devices, we started way back in 2006 and 7. We shifted to core banking. And once we had connected the banking network across the country, we were then able to take the plunge or the leap where now you find the digital infrastructure providing all the payment mechanism, seamless payment mechanism that you are seeing. Of course, when I speak about the financial inclusion and lower segment of the economy, which was not really getting captured earlier, I don't mean it's only beneficial to them. It's of course beneficial to the larger segment of the economy also. You and me conducting transactions at speed of light. The
Yes.
businesses are benefiting. Commerce
Okay.
and trade in the country is benefiting. The tax department is benefiting because they can trail the money transaction that is taking place. So
Indeed.
overall, in the whole economy, everybody is reaping the benefit of the UPI. And you must have read in that report, they referred to it about the interoperability because now through the government, the RBI encouraged interoperability. So therefore, one thing which the rest of the world will have to learn, and the report is also recommending that interoperability will become very, very important. So technologically, at one single interface, if the user and the receiver and the payer and their banks speak to each other, the transaction happens seamlessly within seconds. I think
Okay.
that is the fintech has played an important role. Simultaneously, the sandbox which the Reserve Bank had created for the fintech about 4 or 5 years ago, this is the result of all those efforts coming together.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr. Charan Singh, eminent economist, expert on the banking sector, for bringing your vast experience and helping us to understand this a little better. Thank you, sir.